Welcome, welcome, welcome. Super excited to see everybody. Very excited to be sharing um, something that I do each and every year. Every year I do my personal top 10, top 20, sometimes it's top 20. This year I narrowed it down to top 10 social media trends for 2020. As you probably see these everywhere. Everybody's giving their predictions of what's going to happen in 2020, and I guess I'm no different. But I do like to try to keep everybody in the loop on what is coming. For those of you who may not know me, my name is Kim Garst. I'm an online business strategist. I'm the creator of Groups That Grow Your Business. And a myriad of other training courses. My passion is really around taking the complex and making it simple for other entrepreneurs so that they can grow their bottom lines. So first things first, let me just say, as you're coming in, just give me a shout out. Where in the world are you today? Now, how's the weather? Today is a little bit nippy here in Tampa. Good to see you, L. Grebs, like that. Hey, April, great to see you. As always, you show up on my lives so often, so appreciative of the time you spend with me. So thank you. So we have somebody from North Carolina, and it's sunny. Yeah, it's been started out a little overcast here in Tampa this morning, but it's sunny now. But it's chilly for here. I mean, it was in the 40s this morning, and that's definitely chilly for here in Tampa. So we have the UK in the house. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And New Zealand, not to be outdone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Super excited. Now, one thing I want to share with you guys, I'm going to give you my predictions, but I want to hear from you. I want to know what you think and if these things that I share with you resonate, and or if in some cases, are they things you're already doing, or are they things you're going to be doing in the future? So plug in. I really want to let this be an interactive experience so that everybody has a voice. Hello, hello. Good to see everybody. Okay, so getting started. My first one here. Let me get organized. So I have these put in the back end here so I can just roll them across the screen and then we'll talk about them. So my first one is social selling is going to be on the uptick. And you've probably seen a lot of different rollouts of different things over the past year, and that's just continuing. Two things that I really wanted to key in on as it relates to social selling, or social commerce, as they call it. I've been calling it social selling for years. So some call it social commerce, social selling, same thing, right? Same, just semantics, really. But Instagram now is allowing users to build virtual storefronts inside of the app. And I think that's a huge, huge opportunity for those with physical products. Unfortunately, Instagram doesn't allow for digital products of any sort, but physical products, oh yeah, it's such a great opportunity. And then Pinterest is also rolled out something that is really, really cool. It's what they call the Shop the Look ads, which is going to allow you to tag multiple products, like up to 25 in a single image. So let's say you're styling an outfit, for example, and you might have earrings and eyeglasses and, the shirt and the jacket and the jewelry, maybe a bangle or a set of bangles and jeans and shoes. And point being is you can tag all of those products and people can click on them and go buy. That's a pretty amazing thing. So I'm super excited about both of those opportunities, simply because it'll make it so much easier. And you may have already seen some of these features in your Instagram feed, where you'll see a photo and it'll have like a little white box over top of it with whatever. It's like black leggings and, a price point. You click on it and you can go purchase. So there's so much coming. That's been one of the biggest struggles for a lot of people, is how do we leverage social to sell? And it's coming, guys. It is definitely coming. So I'm curious, what Oh, thanks for the comments on the glasses. I'm decked out for Christmas today. Um, but I'm curious as to what your thoughts are. Have you seen these opportunities to buy in your like your Instagram feed, for example? Have you tried any of them? Do you have physical products? I'd love to know, what your thoughts are on the whole shift of social from the business. For us as business owners or marketers, these are good things, but as end users, even, what does that look like for you? I'm just curious as to everybody's thoughts. So please drop them in. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. Okay, so my next prediction, and this is a biggie, and I really want to dig into this a little bit. It is that voice search is going to account for 50% of all searches. Now, this is really critical, and I want to talk about this because for years we've all relied on the Google machine, the SEO. Well, I say Google machine, technically it could be any search engine, but the primary search engine obviously is the Google machine. And when I say voice search, that means, people are picking up their phones, they're saying, "Hey Siri," and they're asking their questions, and Siri returns a result. And I'll just give you a quick example. We just had my mastermind, the last mastermind meetup of the year last week. And one of our members was celebrating their 25th wedding anniversary. So one of the others was saying, "I'm going to get something cool for this person." So she Googled, she wanted to get him, she thought he liked whiskey. So she's like, "But which version of whiskey do I get?" So she went to Siri. "Hey Siri, what's better? Is it Members, what was it, Maker's Mark or Crown?" I think was the two. And so it gave her it returned a result and said that basically Crown was like white trash version of, it was a very, not a really great article because it referenced that, and the point of it was that, hey, don't buy Crown because it's not as near as good as Members Mark. The point of that I want to really bring to your attention is when somebody gets that message, whoever owns that voice search on the Google machine, people are going to pay attention to that. Is it true? Potentially not. I mean, one could say, now everybody has an opinion, right? Some would say Crown's better. Some would say Members Mark. I'm not a whiskey person, so I don't know. But this is a fascinating dynamic and one that we need to be aware of because we need to start optimizing. If you haven't been optimizing for voice search, you need to. Everybody's been talking about voice search is coming. It's coming. It's coming. No, it's here. We absolutely need to be understanding the dynamics. And in the near future, I just had a meeting, another little insider bit of knowledge for you. I had a meeting with my SEO team yesterday, day before, and they were talking about how voice search is going to impact SEO across the board from the standpoint of how many places, the organic places there are going to be on the Google machine. So usually when you type in a search result, there's anywhere from 5 to 7. There used to be 10, but it's getting less and less organic, meaning you have a shot at getting those front page places essentially, but that's getting smaller. Google is going to own like the first 5 search results. And then beyond that, they're going to start surfacing video content and get this, podcast content, because now they have AI and they can turn that voice, the podcast, because it's all audio, right? They can turn that audio into text on their side. And if somebody is searching for something and the podcast is answering that question or gives information around that, then they can surface podcast information. Boom. That's such a huge opportunity. But for many that don't either have a podcast or haven't optimized yet for voice search, they're going to be left behind. So let's talk about that real quick. What are some ways that you can optimize for voice search? One of the best ways, in my opinion, is providing direct answers to the common questions that people ask. Because guess what? People do voice search around, "Hey Siri, what is or how is, or so they're asking the question. So think about it from the standpoint. In fact, Siri thinks I'm talking to it. So that's what is a fascinating dynamic for us, and a fascinating opportunity for us as marketers. It's something we should be doing anyway, is answering the most commonly asked questions, but do so in your blog content. If you have a local business, making sure that your local listing is current, because people search for, guess what, businesses near me. Or near them, and we do it all the time. Probably, I would bet you that when you search, you're searching for things based on your location. Let me know if you agree with that. So let me just check. All right. Matt, I hang in there. I'm going to talk about social streaming services. So hang in there with me. And then we got Chuck saying, wow, that's amazing about podcast. Yes, this is huge, guys. So if you have a podcast or you don't have a podcast yet, maybe you want to think about this, because Google is going to be surfacing that content, because now through AI, they can convert that voice into text for their algorithm, and they're going to be surfacing that content. I unfortunately, I can't say I know enough to understand the, talk the tech side of it with any degree of knowledge. I just know that my SEO company was telling me about this, and I think it's really interesting. And Tova says, will this percent of voice search projection be a global trend? Will it apply to third world countries? My understanding is yes, it is global. Right now, Google is a obviously global operation, except in countries that don't have it. So I know China doesn't allow Google to be there, but for the most of the world where Google is, yes, it will matter. So just wanted to really talk about that piece of it, because it's such a golden opportunity for us, and it's not just coming, it is here. 50% of all searches in 2020 are going to be voice searches. So do you want to lose half of the opportunity that you could potentially get from the search engines, simply because you're not optimized for it? So start answering the questions is one. Another suggestion I have for you, and it's huge. A lot of people talk about this, and yet I haven't seen a huge shift in this yet. So many people think their content needs to be perfect, when really it just needs to be conversational. People want to read a piece of content that makes them feel like you're talking to them. So craft your content in that way, where you're just sitting down talking to, somebody that you're giving a piece of advice to, or, answering that one question. Answering the one question, for example, and answering it to one person, because every person will feel like you're talking to them if you do it in that way. So another quick strategy for you. Okay. My third strategy for you, or my third trend, I guess. My third opinion is that Facebook Pay is going to be hugely, is that a word? Hugely popular in 2020. So, there's a lot of talk about social commerce in particular, but one of the things I think is an interesting dynamic around Facebook in particular is that, one, Facebook owns two of the top, I would argue probably two of the top most frequented, most used, and most loved even social platforms, and that's Instagram and Facebook. And Facebook is innovating and has been innovating in so many ways and spaces for years now. So they're staying ahead of the competition. Sometimes some of the things they've done have failed and spectacularly, but that's being a business. That's what happens. That can even happen to all of us. I would bet you that there's not a business owner out there that hasn't had a huge failure somewhere along the way. It's just a part of being in business. But with this new Facebook Pay is what they call it. It's going to allow you to send payments, not just on Facebook, but inside of Messenger, inside of Instagram, and inside of WhatsApp. That is going to be a huge, huge opportunity. What is really fascinating and why I think it's going to really potentially ding a lot of other service providers who are facilitating the exchange of money is that Facebook Pay is going to be free. So it lowers the barrier to entry for business owners who, maybe are just getting started and sure if they, want to invest in a service, some sort of a platform like PayPal, or even though PayPal is free, you still pay fees to use it. Or Stripe, for example. Stripe is one of the most low-cost platforms out there from a fee perspective, but what would it look like if you didn't have to pay any fees? Like, that would be pretty stunning, right? So I think it's a really awesome thing. And I think it will also tie in big ways to Facebook Marketplace. I think Facebook Marketplace has been positioned as a place for people to buy and even sell. And I think that will continue in 2020. But love to know your all's thoughts. How many of you guys have ever used Facebook Marketplace to sell something? All right. Yes, thank you. The Jeet says content doesn't need to be perfect. It needs to be conversational. Absolutely. And hello and good morning to you as well. Glad to see you. All right, so I'll just give you a quick story on how I've leveraged Facebook Marketplace. When we closed the office, the physical office, I sold all the extra stuff on Facebook Marketplace, and it was so easy. People just come to the office, they picked up what it was, gave me the cash, and boom, it was super easy to do that. Really, really easy platform to leverage. And probably safer, I would argue, than maybe Craigslist. All right, so my fourth prediction for you, and this is a biggie, is influencer marketing is going to continue to grow. And I know that a lot of people feel like, hey, I hear you, Kim, but like, I'm not a big influencer. I don't have a massive platform. I don't have thousands of followers, et cetera, et cetera. But this is what's really a huge shift within influencer marketing. And I'll before I go into the shift, though, let me go ahead with the shift. The shift in influencer marketing is that a lot of brands and business owners are looking for smaller communities. They're looking for what they call a micro influencer or a nano influencer. People who have small communities, but are very connected to those communities. My personal story around this is that in the last 2 months of this year, we are being inundated with influencer opportunities. I mean, people doing outreach saying, will you promote this? I'd like to partner with you on this. It's been crazy. I mean, we're responding to 5 or 6 a day. It's like they're coming out of the woodwork. So I'm not just here to tell you that this is a trend, that it's going to continue to grow, but I'm seeing it happening in my business. Now, some would go, I'm sure a lot of people will be like, yeah, Kim, I get it, but I don't have the size of community that you do. I don't think it matters anymore. And that's what's so incredibly special about this, is that there's going to be opportunities for everybody. The average ROI on influencer campaigns is a whopping 430%. And they're meeting their goals, in such a larger perspective, I guess, the brands are, that it's just a real win-win for them. So I want you to be aware of it, and even the opportunities to create opportunities within that space. Like, what does that look like for you if you don't have a big following? And I think that's like things that you really like, that you would love to share into your community. Do some outreach. Say, I have this size community. I would love to recommend XYZ, whatever it is. Would you be open to a an influencer agreement or an influencer deal of some sort. So make your own stars, guys, or do the outreach. Find people who are interested in, who have something great that you would like to share into your community, but don't do it for free. Stop selling your influence is my point. Oh, so April has asked this question. Will Facebook Pay work for event registration too? My understanding is that yes, it will, April. Now, not everybody has it yet. So in fact, I think it's, you know how Facebook does. Facebook rolls it out to a few people and then they roll it out to the masses. So not everyone has it. And frankly, I don't believe that everyone knows with any degree of certainty exactly how it's all going to tie together. But I do believe it will work with event registration as well, which again saves the money. It saves, and then people don't have to leave Facebook, which is another win for Facebook for sure. Hey, Juan, great to see you. I'm doing great. How are you? All right. So my fifth prediction is around TikTok. How many of you guys have TikTok accounts? I just love to know who's got a TikTok account, who or has never been on it, or who is saying, what the heck is TikTok? TikTok is a fascinating kind of phenomena. A lot of people liken it to just, kid stuff, kind of like MySpace was back in the day. It's basically a lip syncing talent kind of platform where you can showcase your talents. It has skyrocketed. It has been a huge, I would say, my goodness, why? Part of me wants to do that. And then when I go to TikTok, I find myself getting sucked in. So, I think it's got some interesting legs, just from the standpoint of, though, does it matter right now for you? So let's talk about that real quick. TikTok is, it's got about, let's see, 1 billion users. So it was downloaded about 1 billion times last year. So it is definitely on the uptick. No pun intended. But I think for me, I'll just share my personal take on it. From a business perspective, I'm not sure my person is there. I'm not sure my person is going to be on TikTok to consume the type of content that I might create for it. And honestly, I'm not sure I'm such a good lip syncer. So for me, I'm just watching it, being aware of it. And we'll see where it goes. I know some people are saying, oh yeah, you got to get on there. You got to get on there. It reminds me a little bit of when Snapchat first, hit the waves, and it was such a big thing. And I just didn't feel like my client was there. And again, it's just been one of those things. It's a personal decision on everybody's part, but it is definitely growing. I think it will continue to grow. And I think it should be on the short list of things we pay attention to. Until we decide whether or not it makes sense for us and our business. All right. So my next up trend for you is groups, Facebook groups. What? Facebook groups? Kim, what's new and exciting about Facebook groups? They've been around forever. And I would say, yes, Facebook groups have been around forever. In fact, they've been around since 2007. Why I think they are going to be revived and new life is breathed into them in 2020 going forward is for a couple of reasons. One, because Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg in particular, at the F8 conference earlier in the year said very clearly that they were going to be focusing in on Facebook groups and doing a lot of build out functionality wise inside of Facebook groups. They've made it more prominent on the app. They are spending money to advertise Facebook groups. So it's just a real interesting dynamic right now. And where will it go? I do have some predictions. I think that groups will become basically, and they already are in some capacities, but I think they'll flesh out more and they'll become kind of like like mini Thinkifics, like mini learning management platforms where we can create content, put it in there, that kind of thing. So I think that that's one prediction that I have for it. But I think the bigger reason that I believe Facebook groups are so powerful right now is simply because of the way the Facebook platform works as a whole. People want to feel like they're a part of something. They want to feel like they are connected to like-minded people. And for us as marketers, we are struggling to build community on Facebook these days because our Facebook fan pages, we are creating content and nobody's seeing it because of the algorithm. So there's just so much disconnect, I think, from a content standpoint and from a connection standpoint and a relationship standpoint on the very platform that started all of this to begin with. So I believe that groups solve that problem. It allows people to connect around things they care about. It allows them to connect to each other. And it allows our content to be seen in the feeds of those that we are serving because they're inside of our group. So if you don't have a Facebook group, highly recommend that you consider circling back to that. Okay, so we got a comment from April. Facebook groups can be great if only I could find more people who are seeking connection and collaboration versus being salesy. I almost always get the vibe that the group admins just want the community to be about them and their programs as opposed to bringing their community together. And that's a fail, in my opinion, April. I think that's probably the disconnect that I have seen across the board. When you really set up a group and you're in there serving, it's a whole different vibe than, hey, just buy my stuff all the time. Now, I run into this a lot because I do have the Facebook groups that grow your business course. And I have this conversation quite frequently because when somebody's trying to figure out how they're going to set up their group, they come to me and they're like, okay, this is my idea and this is what I want it for. And they see dollar signs on everybody that comes through through the virtual door of their group. And that's a problem. That's a mistake. And I would highly recommend that if you are, if that's your mentality across the board, it doesn't matter if you have a Facebook group or you're just active on social and you're trying to attract the right person, you have to lead with value without the expectation of reward. If you lead with service or a servant-based heart, the money will follow. It's just a crazy dynamic. And yet so often we get hung up on the money before the service. So just thought I would share that real quick. All right. So the next up trend that I have for you is video content is going to be bigger than ever. So somebody asked earlier about live video in particular. And I think video in any form right now is really being consumed at a lot. Well, it's just historically in the past year, I would say last year in particular, it really started gaining a lot of traction. And I think in 2020, it's going to be even bigger. I'll just give you a quick stat. 83% of marketers actually believe that video content is becoming increasingly important to their business. And that could be webinar, webinar trainings, product demonstrations, social media, explainer videos, any type of video content. It seems like that people are gravitating to that over straight up text. But I think live video in particular brings a whole nother level of opportunity to us. And I think it's because people get a sense for who you are. And really in just a couple of minutes, like they can figure out, do I like that person? Are they helpful in any way? And you build out the know, like, and trust factor, which is a part of the sales process. If you don't have the know, like, and trust factor, you're probably not going to sell stuff to people. So you build out that know, like, and trust factor at a hyper accelerated rate when you do embrace live video. And so I do believe that it's hugely important. I think we're going to see more and more. And I would also make the prediction, if you are not leveraging the power of LinkedIn Live yet, you need to go apply for it, and you might have to apply for it and apply for it and apply for it before you get it. But I'm seeing a lot of real value, not only just from, I've only gone live, I think now one time on LinkedIn. This will be the second time. And great engagement, great visibility on LinkedIn. And, everybody that I know that's got LinkedIn Live is experiencing the same dynamic. It kind of makes sense though, because LinkedIn is, even though they've had live video for a while, most people don't have it. So they're not inundated with a lot of live video content. So those that do have it and are leveraging it and creating good content on LinkedIn Live are, standing out of the crowd. So definitely recommend that you pay attention to that if you are live streaming. And even if you aren't, you might want to wake up and smell the live video coffee, as I say. So, okay, so April says, if only we could get more people into the mindset of serving primarily, they would understand that the revenue stream will follow. Amen, sister, right? I say it all the time. And then she says, LOL, you just said the same thing as I was typing my comment above. Great minds. All right. And Mark says, oops, late arrival. I'll have to catch the earlier stuff later. Yeah, definitely tune in. You can go back and watch the replay at any given time. All right, next up, we have my next trend. We're almost there, guys. Thanks for bearing with me. I know this is a little long today, but 8 is no more likes on Instagram or Facebook. Could that actually happen? What's your all's thoughts on that? You may know this, you may not, but Instagram has already removed the likes for U.S. users and some other countries. They've kind of said it's a test, but I predict that it's going to be a long-term thing. Now, when I say they're removing the likes, it means that the people who are viewing our content can't see how many times somebody has liked some of our content. And the reason that they're doing this is to level the playing ground. There's so many people who get so wrapped up in how many times people have liked their content or not liked it that it's about everybody wants to feel good, I guess. So it's just really an interesting dynamic. There's so much bullying going on social and some other dynamics around this. But I think it's going to encourage people to share better content and maybe even share content more frequently in the long haul, be more creative with their content. Now, on the back side of our content, we can still see how many times the content was liked, but those likes will not be public facing any longer. And I personally predict that Facebook will ultimately remove it as well. Now, we'll see if that happens. But like I said before, Facebook does own Instagram. They've made that leap on Instagram. And it's going to be really interesting to see if it happens on Facebook. But my prediction is that it will. All right. Next up, we're on 9 already, guys. So we're getting there. So 9 is WhatsApp is going to continue to dominate the mobile messaging app market. How many are using WhatsApp? I'm just curious. Okay, so Mark, let's talk about this real quick because I can't believe I'm saying this. I just did an interview about just this the other day, and it was about, what I'm excited about as it relates to social. And my almost word for word, this is what came out of my mouth. I said, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm actually falling in love with LinkedIn. Like, what is going on here? But I am definitely appreciating it on a whole new level. One, because I'm having conversations there daily. Like that's never, ever happened before. Real conversations, like I'm generating business and it's just been a really interesting dynamic. So I would have agreed with you like even 2 months ago, but I started, checking out LinkedIn. LinkedIn Live was really intriguing to me. I would recommend you check it out. Get LinkedIn Live in particular, depending on your business, but I would speculate that you will find that there's real people talking, engaging at a kind of, I'd hate to say they're behind the times. That sounds bad when I say it like that, but it's almost like that social platform is a little behind some of the others from the standpoint of losing that social element. Facebook, I think, has lost that social element a little bit. That's why those one-on-one conversations are so important. And I don't believe that LinkedIn has really lost that yet. So it's kind of an interesting dynamic. So April is saying, I have never used WhatsApp. Tanya is saying, not me, but I'm about to get it. Yeah, one of the things that Chuck says occasionally, and oh yes, April, me too, girl. So April's saying that, well, I'm falling in love with LinkedIn. Instagram stories has been her jam, and I would agree with on both fronts, honestly. The whole story concept, which we're going to talk about, that's my last tip for you. I'm kind of giving you a hint on that, I suppose. But before we go on to that last tip, I wanted to talk a little bit more about the whole opportunity that I think WhatsApp is going to bring to the table. It's not that it's not already here. It's not that that people haven't been using it. In fact, it's got like 1.6 billion monthly users. But there's also a business app, and it allows you to connect with your customers and clients directly through the app. So you could be having conversations directly with your existing customers or prospects even. And remember what I said about Facebook Pay is now going to be integrated through those apps. You can actually get clients to pay you directly for no fee, no associated fee, directly through the app as well. So there's just going to be a real interesting dynamic shift here, I think, simply because here in the US anyway, simply because of the commerce piece of it. Again, that's my prediction. It's going to happen. Mostly, I have used WhatsApp when I'm traveling internationally because it's a free app. I don't have to worry about texting. We here in the U.S. most of the time we just use our phones to text back and forth, right? Instead of going into WhatsApp. But when I travel, I was in Tel Aviv a couple of months ago, and I used WhatsApp to communicate with my family. And friends and things of that nature. And then we set up a group with some of the leaders of the Monday.com team over there so that we can connect through the app as well. So that's been a fascinating dynamic. I really have been enjoying that. All right. So my last prediction, guys, is around the story content, essentially. There's a fancy name for it. I always struggle to say that word. It's temporary content, essentially, is what I'm referring to here. And that's things like, Snapchat, Instagram stories, Facebook stories. Interesting dynamic for me personally on the two I don't do Snapchat, so let me just compare the two for you, Instagram stories and Facebook stories. Usually I share my stories to Instagram, and then I share them through the Instagram app directly to Facebook. And some of you may do the same. And through that process, I take a look at one, it saves me time. And two, I have an opportunity to see the stats on both sides of the fence. I can take a look at what's happening on Instagram, and I can see what's happening on Facebook as well. And my visibility on my stories is higher, higher. The visibility is higher. In other words, more people are seeing the content on Facebook versus Instagram, but my engagement on that content is higher on Instagram. So I'll get DMs and, have real conversations, and almost never does anyone really engage with my content on Facebook. They do see it, but they're watching it, they're looking at it, but almost never do I get a personal outreach message like I do on Instagram. And I'd be curious, like I know April, you're using Instagram stories. So I'm curious if you've noticed that same dynamic. So April's saying, I do wish stories on Facebook and IG had a bit more longevity, at the very least to allow us some flexibility to customize length of time, especially if we have an event we are promoting that is tied to a specific date or date range. I would agree. Although, there are other ways that we could leverage that content. We could, we can put it on our little buttons on our profile, like if you have an event, for example. But there are some serious drawbacks just from a navigation standpoint, I think, using Instagram. As like if you don't have 10,000 followers, how do you get people to swipe up and that kind of thing? So there's still some drawbacks for sure. But it's just a really interesting dynamic that so many people are consuming that content and prefer it over static content. Let me restate that. So many people are engaging with story-based content and prefer to engage with that type of content over static content, guys. So that means that people are paying attention to those little buttons at the top, meaning all those little profiles of people who've gotten story content on Instagram, and they're not always paying as much attention in their feed. I'll just speak for myself now. When I go to Instagram, that's the very first thing I do. And then I'll scroll through just a tad bit of like my Instagram feed. My focus almost is exclusive to the story-based content. It's kind of an interesting dynamic. So great. And another great comment. April says, I tend to view more stories where someone is using video versus text or photos. Yes, me too. I just love people and getting to know who those people are before learning about what they do. Yes, absolutely. Totally agree. All right. So who has a trend or a prediction around something that's going to happen in 2020 that I haven't covered? Shout it out. Let's hear it. I want to know. Because I certainly didn't cover everything. I just had a short 10 things on the old listaroo here. So if anybody has any comments, any content that you think, just one quick thing I thought of when we talked about video and we talked about live video, one thing I didn't talk about that I wanted to circle back to is GIFs or GIFs, whichever you prefer. I say GIF, you say GIF, like, I don't know, whichever one it is, whichever you prefer. But I think anything with movement is really going to be huge. We're seeing a lot of, and have seen traditionally, a lot of usage of GIFs. Now a lot of the platforms, in fact, pretty sure LinkedIn doesn't have it yet, but obviously Facebook has the GIF feature. I know Twitter has it. A lot of the even tools these days, like Slack has the capability of adding GIF comments. So I really feel like there's an opportunity that kind of falls in under that video pile, if you will, for that humorous connection, validation using GIFs. All right, so Julie is saying Instagram Reels to compete with TikTok. Yes, I do agree with that, Julie. I think that that's an opportunity that we definitely have on Instagram because they already have some of this capability that's built into Instagram. Even though it's definitely a different platform than TikTok where the content is mostly that same theme. But it's an opportunity for sure on Instagram. Do agree with you. Love it. Great prediction. And then April says, using mentions and stories is a really great way to get someone's attention. Yes, absolutely agree. Great tip. And then let's see. Aw, thank you. I do. That is one of my core inner things is I do really care. So I'm glad you picked up on it. I wake up every morning trying to figure out what do I do today to help somebody else shorten their learning curve to get to a better place. Mark is also saying that I have a bad feeling that Facebook business page reach will continue to fall. How much further can it fall? Right? It's in the crapper already. I said that word. Yes, I did. But no, it is a problem for sure. And I would speculate that you're right. That's why I really feel like that Facebook groups are such a fabulous opportunity to really still leverage the platform and build community and get our content seen by the people that are in the group, because content that's, content that will show up in their feeds if they are in the group and your group isn't private, the content will show up, which is a nice way to actually get in front of people versus where we are now with our content and our fan pages. So totally agree. But hopefully it won't drop much further. I mean, we're on the dregs of reach as it is on our fan pages. Well, I am super excited that I had this time to spend with you guys. I'm excited that you made the time to spend with me. Always honor that. And don't forget, at any point you need to have a question, you need some help, reach out. You can find me here on my fan page. I'm also on LinkedIn. I'm live over there on LinkedIn right now. Hi, LinkedIn fans. Reach out. I'd love to connect, have a conversation with you. And I won't be live next Wednesday at the same time because it's Christmas. So if I don't see you between now and then, Merry Christmas to you. I hope you and yours have a fabulous time, that you enjoy yourselves, and you really value the time you get to spend with your families. Take care, guys. God bless. Have a great rest of your day.